Hey Dividend Grow investor, I have missed you. Of course, you didn't feel it that much because I had pre-recorded a few videos, but over the past 3 weeks, I was in Portugal while you were watching those videos. So today is my first one that I record back from this amazing trip. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. It will be my pleasure to answer them, but today, we're not going to talk about traveling, about Portugal, but we're going to talk about something quite interesting. There is a mysterious land on the stock market where companies have no debt. I know it's hard to believe, especially right now, because with high interest rate, we see a bunch of companies suffering, having this burden of debt payment increasing all the time. I'm thinking about like companies like AT&T and Verizon, where they are capital intensive. Now they're offering a very high yield and they're struggling to move forward and to generate some growth because they have those huge debt payment that they have to carry on their back. So today we're going to talk about 4 companies that has little to no debt. As you can see on this graph, I have selected 3 companies with absolutely no debt. So LeMaitre, Vascular, Gentex, and Garmin. And I decided to cheat a little because I know the title was Zero Debt Dividend Grower, but Fastenal has a $350 million long-term debt on its balance sheet, but considering that they have a market cap over $30 billion, I'm pretty sure they could just wipe out that debt and say that they have none, right? So it's the 4 companies. We're gonna look at it today. We're gonna talk about their dividend triangle, their business model, and some risk, because even though they do not have debt, it's not a sure shot to invest in them. So let's start with the smallest one, LeMaitre Vascular, ticker LMAT, market cap slightly above $1 billion, so we could consider it as a small cap. The yield is at 1%, and you can see revenue is trending pretty much up. Earnings are a bit shaky, but the dividend increases clockwork. So what's the magic behind LeMaitre Vascular? They are making medical devices, medical tools for vascular surgeons. So it's very niche, very specific, and they grow by acquisition. What I really like about that business model is while they find growth by acquiring other competitors in their niche, they rapidly pay off their debt and they try to keep the balance sheet as clean as possible. On the other side, as you can see at the end of the dividend triangle for the price, the stock price dropped by about 10% over one single announcement after their earnings, even though they had great earnings with a lot of revenue growth, a lot of earnings growth. Some analysts said, you know what, I don't think LeMaitre Vascular will be able to replicate this model going forward, and I think it's going to be rougher in 24. So they downgraded their price target, and then boom, the stock price lost 10%. What's the matter? Well, this often happens with small cap because there's low trading volume and there's higher volatility. One thing I really like about LeMaitre Vascular is its diversification. So while it's a small business and a niche company, they do business across the world, and they also try to focus on those vascular surgeons, making it a sticky business. Why? Well, you know what? Surgeon has a lot of other things to think about instead of let's just saying, oh, we're going to change our tools every single week, right? So if they found a supplier that is reliable and offer great quality, they're going to stick to it for a very long time because their focus is on their patients and not trying to shop around for new tools. So that makes it a pretty stable business model. The main risk, as I said earlier, volatility, and the second one, since it's a small business, especially when COVID hit and hospitals' budget were all going towards the COVID and not buying new medical stuff, they had to lay off a lot of their representatives. So it is a good business in a niche market, but very dependent on the macroeconomic. So if you go into this kind of business, you have to be willing to go up on a rocky road, but overall, LeMaitre Vascular has been delivering with a steady dividend growth for many years now. Now moving on to used to be one of my favorite, Gentex, ticker GNTX, market cap of $7.7 billion, yield of around 1.5%. And as you can see, for a long time, actually you don't even see it on this graph, and that was the problem. Before, it was a dividend grower, so it was growing their dividend. Again, small business, focused on growth. They dominate their market, which are auto dimming mirrors. I know it's like, again, very niche product, right? It's small auto parts on the car, but they have over 90% of those market share, and they're halfway between an auto part company and a tech company because they reinvest a lot in research and development, and they have over 2,000 patents registered. So that helps them to include technology inside cars. Now they're exploding a little bit elsewhere. They're like working with aircrafts as well. So they use their expertise to expand their level of product. But the only reason why I decided to sell a few years ago is the lack of dividend growth. So the company is still very strong. There is no debt. But the fact that they have shifted their capital allocation, it makes it very hard for me to follow because I am focused on dividend growth investing. And that is pretty much the only bad thing I have to tell about Gentex. One thing I really like about Gentex is as they started by building auto-dimming mirrors, they have decided to expand a lot their product offering. So as you can see here, now we're talking about glass handling and processing. We're talking about software, electronic and electronics into their device, automated assembly. So they offer a lot of other products, and that made them a little bit stronger. They opened more doors for growth vectors, but you always have to be careful again with those small companies. A big player such Magna International could decide to just buy them off, or they could decide to crush it by offering similar products and go head to head in a battle. They would likely win, so it's really tough for Gentex to expand. They have to grow very fast because they're a small company surrounded by giant. The next one on this list is quite intriguing, and now I'm not too sure I would be willing to step my foot on this one and buy it. It is Garmin, ticker GRMN. Market cap $20 billion, almost 3% yield, so 2.8%. No debt, as you saw at the beginning. Dividend growth relatively stable, but here's the thing: revenues are now plateauing, the earnings per share are decreasing. The thing with Garmin is they used to be like the go-to place for car navigation, which everybody wanted to have a GPS in their car, which was amazing. Now that we have our phone, kind of like defeat the purpose, right? So it's a little bit harder. So now they expanded and they try to diversify across fitness, outdoor, aviation, marine tools, and they kept their car business as well. So over the years, they were able to shift their business model to other segment. As you can see here now, the automobile segment is now a tiny part of the business. Fitness and outdoor is taking most of it, which was a very smart move. But again, they have a lot of competition in that field. And the fact they had no debt, it's a plus, but it's not necessarily going to make them compete against smartphone and other outdoor and fitness application that can be used with other types of device than what Garmin is offering. So I see a lot of threat here. It's not a coincidence that we see that the stock price is going down and revenue is struggling to grow. I hope that they will find another way to find growth, but at this point, I'm a bit concerned about their business model. I'm not too sure they're going to grow old successfully. So the next 5 years will be determinant for Garmin. The last, but certainly not the least, Fastenal. Fastenal, when you look at the dividend triangle, you could see almost a perfect triangle. So revenue, earnings, and dividend are growing steadily year after year. It's pretty much clockwork. Great performance on the stock market as well. Market cap of $33 billion and a yield of 2.4. So something quite interesting depending on what you're looking for your portfolio. But this one has a lot of repetitive purchases because they are selling fasteners, and the smartest thing that they were able to do is to compete online ordering through Amazon is they install their vendors and their vending machine inside their client's building. So the thing is, when you're selling small industrial hardware parts like this, you want your clients to get them as soon as possible and have inventory all the time, right? So you just want to make sure that you can open one box, get what you need, and keep working because you don't want to have any slowdown. This is what Fastenal has been doing for many years, and it is quite successful. So now they have like a very sticky business. They work hand in hand with their client being their main supplier. They just make sure that they have everything they need on the spot, and this creates a lot of growth opportunities for them. One thing that I love about Fastenal, it's wide diversification. So whenever you enter into a recession, well then you'll have some manufacturing, heavy equipment, you have reseller, construction, government and education segment, transportation. So there will always have a few segments that will do better than others regardless of what's going on the economy. And this enables Fastenal to have a solid base of cash flow. So predictable cash flow, sticky business, leader in their market, proximity with their client. Those are all great characteristics, and on top of that they have very too little debt. So if I have to pick one among those four, you can guess it, my choice would be Fastenal. I think that LeMaitre Vascular is quite interesting too, but a little bit more rocky road, lower yield as well. So the volatility aspect and the fact that they're a very small company could go either way. You can make a lot of money or you can lose a lot of money. With Fastenal, stable business, well known across the United States. So I think this one could be probably the one that deserves a little bit more of your attention. If you're looking for more ideas like this, subscribe to this channel, and on the link description below, we just updated our Rockstar list. So this is a list of Canadian and US stocks that shows a strong dividend triangle, meaning that over the past 5 years, they have grown their earnings, their revenue, and their dividend on a consistent basis. So you can download it. It has been updated last week. If you're already on our newsletter, don't worry, you already received the list. If not, you subscribe, you're gonna get it right away. And until the next video that will happen on Thursday, where we will cover Canadian stocks with low level of debt, stay invested.